Hey, what's going on, everybody? Welcome to Catch, Hook, and Shoot. My name's Tom. I am your host. Today is Sunday, February the 24th, 2019. Thanks to everybody who's been following the show. Hope you're listening and subscribing on Podbean, Spotify, iTunes, Google Play, and if you're interested in catching the video feed, you can find that on YouTube and Twitch. Also, hope everybody's following on social media: Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, Snapchat. Just search Catch, Hook, Shoot. And if you ever want to send me an email, it's catchhookshoot@gmail.com. So, just coming off of the Elimination Chamber last week, I personally thought it was a pretty good pay-per-view. Ran a little bit short, surprisingly. It was actually under 3 hours. Of course, on the pre-show, we had Buddy Murphy retaining the Cruiserweight title against Akira Tozawa. And then on the main show, the one match everybody was talking about was the Women's Tag Team Championship Elimination Chamber match. And the winners of that match, the new women's tag team champions, were Sasha Banks and Bayley. Don't think it was too much of a surprise to anybody. They were kind of the expected winners, but just because it was expected didn't make it any less of a great match. Really impressed with all six of those teams, and the women are definitely at least in my mind on the same level as the men. They've shown they can they can main event TV, they can main event pay-per-views, they can have just as great a matches as all the guys do. They can have the same type of the stipulation or gimmick matches, whether it's Elimination Chamber, Hell in a Cell, Royal Rumble, whatever it might be. So definite kudos to the entire women's roster, and especially to Sasha and Bayley, the new women's tag team champions. Finn Balor is your new Intercontinental Champion, defeated Bobby Lashley and Lio Rush in a handicap match, and after that match, Lio Rush was the one who took the pinfall and ended up taking a pretty good beating from Bobby Lashley as well. But then they were kind of back together the next night on Raw, so I'm not really 100% sure where that storyline's going. Baron Corbin defeated Braun Strowman with the help of Drew McIntyre and Bobby Lashley. They, interestingly enough, used a move out of the Shield's playbook, the triple power bomb on Strowman, and the commentators did make mention, of the Shield, or kind of referred to him a little bit, with the use of that triple power bomb. So it kind of started people talking. Was the Shield possibly getting back together, or are they going to kind of come in to back up Braun Strowman? Because they're really playing up this angle that Strowman doesn't have any friends, doesn't have any kind of backup. And they, played it up some more on Monday night. So we'll have to see where that one's going as well. The Usos are the new SmackDown Tag Team Champions. They defeated The Miz and Shane McMahon. Ronda Rousey retained the Raw Women's Championship against Ruby Riott in a bit of a squash match. It was about a little over a minute long, which I was really kind of disappointed with. Like I said, the pay-per-view went under 3 hours, so there was no reason that this match had to be cut short. And Ronda and Ruby put on a good solid 10-12 minute match the next night on Raw, so I really don't understand why that they couldn't have had that match, that 10 to 12 to 15 minute match, on the pay-per-view. There was plenty of time. Like I said, the show ran under 3 hours, so I'm not 100% sure what the thinking was behind the quick squash match, other than to allow time for what happened next, which was Charlotte getting in the ring, kind of trash talking Ronda Rousey, Becky Lynch coming out of the stands with a set of crutches and just beating down both Ronda and Charlotte. So that's the only reason I can think that the match would have been cut short. But there still was plenty of time. They could have had a good match between Ronda and Ruby. There was no reason for that to be a squash match. And as far as the men's Elimination Chamber match, we saw Daniel Bryan retain the WWE Championship in a fantastic match. The final two in the match were Bryan and Kofi Kingston, and it was really an amazing showing by Kofi. I've said many times, Kofi, he's been one of the workhorses of WWE, and he is really kind of showing what he can do, because I think a lot of people, maybe didn't forget what Kofi is capable of as a singles competitor, but I think he's just kind of taken for granted, because he goes out there and puts on a great show every time he's in the ring, and he really stepped up his game, and really got over with the crowd, so much so that he now has a one-on-one WWE title match with Daniel Bryan at Fastlane coming up here in a couple of weeks. So yeah, I'll say it again. I would really like to see Kofi get some type of run with the world title, even if it's only a month or so. Give it to him at Fastlane. If he drops it back to Daniel Bryan at WrestleMania or even before then on SmackDown, so be it. But at least give him a shot. See, give him the ball, let him run with it, see what he can do. And so we'll have to see how that turns out when Fastlane comes around. Some Hall of Fame news that came out this week. First inductees announced for the WWE Hall of Fame are D-Generation X. And they're going to be represented by Shawn Michaels, Triple H, X-Pac, Road Dogg, Billy Gunn, and Chyna finally getting her just due and being entered into the WWE Hall of Fame. Now a lot of people are happy about it. Obviously, it's long overdue and well deserved for Chyna. But then there's a handful of people that are complaining because she's not going in as a single, which I really don't understand. I mean, she's in the Hall of Fame, and yeah, she's going in as part of D-Generation X, but she's going in, and don't tell me that a good portion of the focus is not going to be on her, because I'm sure it will be, especially by the people going in with her. So, I see no issue with it. Some other rumored names that could possibly be going in this year. None of these have been confirmed as of yet, but I'd expect we'd start getting pretty regular announcements over the next few weeks leading up to WrestleMania. But some of the other rumored names would be Taz, the Honky Tonk Man, and I think I mentioned this one before, the original Hart Foundation in Bret Hart, Jim Neidhart, and Jimmy Hart. So yeah, those are the rumors. Like I said, I'm sure we'll be getting announcements over the next few weeks. Some kind of surprising news this week, some releases from WWE, starting with Arn Anderson. Now the rumor is there was some kind of confrontation backstage at a house show or something like that with Vince McMahon, and Arn was basically fired. Don't know if that's the case. Obviously WWE's not going to confirm something like that. They're just going to confirm that he's been released and that's it. But if that's the case, I mean, it's really sad to me, because Arn, by all accounts, was the best agent that WWE had. He was always the agent for John Cena's matches, and most of the top guys in the company. He was like kind of the senior agent in the company. So for him to be released after as long as he's been there really is kind of sad, and sorry to see him go. And on the talent side, we had TJP, Ty Dillinger, and Hideo Itami were all released from their contracts. Now, Hideo Itami, that's been known for a while. I guess this was just the official announcement that he's been released from WWE. Ty Dillinger supposedly requested his release and was granted, surprisingly enough. And TJP, didn't request his release. There was some rumors floating around that there was some kind of, he had some heat backstage for whatever reason. But whatever the reasons are, those three superstars have officially gotten their WWE releases. The timing. The timing is interesting on these, because they're like just under the wire to be able to appear at Double or Nothing if an offer was made. And when I say just under the wire, I mean, of course, they're subject to a 90-day no-compete clause, which means they can't be on television, so they can't show up at like Impact next week or anything like that. But that 90 days would be up on, I believe it would be May 23rd. So Double or Nothing is May 25th. So if any of those three, or four if you include Arn Anderson, any of those four could potentially show up at Double or Nothing if there's interest there and if an offer is made. So just thought that was kind of interesting. Like I said, as far as the timing goes. New hiring by the WWE. They have apparently rehired Bruce Pritchard in a creative role, and this is really huge news, because Bruce Pritchard was a big creative force in the WWE during the Attitude Era, and during some of the best times in WWE history, and hasn't been employed with the company for a few years. He's been involved in, of course, his podcast with Conrad Thompson, Something to Wrestle With, and things like that. So, apparently he is back with WWE full time now, and I have to wonder what that means as far as his podcast goes. I can't really imagine WWE allowing him to continue it. So I would think, if there's a an episode coming up this next week. It could potentially be the last one, but who knows? I mean, he's not an on-air talent, so he may still be able to do some stuff outside of WWE. It's just kind of one of those wait and see kind of things. Some more contract news. Matt Hardy basically has said that his contract is up on March 4th, and by all accounts, he has not signed a new one yet. So, kind of curious to see where he's going to end up. Obviously, he's been all over the place. He's been in Ring of Honor. He's been in Impact. He's been all over the independent scene. So I don't know if he plans on wrestling. I know WWE more than likely won't clear him with the type of injury that he had, the back injury that he was dealing with. But judging by his Twitter and Instagram and things like that, he looks to be in fantastic shape. So it wouldn't surprise me to see him pop up somewhere in the very near future, whether it's in the ring or in a behind the scenes capacity, whatever it might be. Some news regarding championships in WWE. There's a rumor floating around that WWE is going to be redesigning the men's tag team championships, which I really hope this is true. I'm not a fan of the current tag team title belts in WWE. I've never been a fan of belts with the circular center plates, and especially the tag team titles with the Spartan heads on those. They look like coins is my whole thing. It looks like the guys are wearing a giant coin around their waist. So I'm hoping maybe they'll do something along the lines of what they did with the Intercontinental title, going back to one of the old school designs. My favorite design was always the belts that Demolition held and the Hart Foundation, British Bulldogs, up through the up through the late 90s, early 2000s. Those tag team titles that kind of started around the time of WrestleMania 2 is when those championships were introduced. So I think going back to that design, that would be pretty cool. I think a lot of people would like that. Regarding the women's division, for the last couple of weeks, we've seen Lacey Evans just kind of popping up, coming out, walking down to the ring, walking back, almost like she's walking a runway or something like that. According to the rumors floating around online, Lacey Evans is in line for a big push once, I would assume, once she starts, actually competing in the ring. But, to the point where, if Ronda Rousey does take time off, which has been rumored, she would kind of be slid into that top spot. Apparently, Vince McMahon is very, very high on Lacey Evans. And, she's, definitely... definitely can hold her own in the ring. Whether she, should be put in a top spot like that right off the bat, straight out of NXT, I don't know. But obviously, that's not mine or anybody else's call other than Vince McMahon. So we'll have to see where that one goes. We saw 4 new debuts this week on Raw and SmackDown of some NXT talent. Tommaso Ciampa, Johnny Gargano, Ricochet, and Aleister Black all had their main roster debuts. Kind of unclear if it's going to be a permanent thing. Now that they have announced that Johnny Gargano is going to be fighting Cesaro on SmackDown this week, so I'm thinking these are probably going to be permanent call-ups, which I would assume would mean that Tommaso Ciampa is going to be losing the NXT title sometime soon here. I don't know if they would take it off of him on NXT TV. I mean, it's not unheard of. But I think they would probably wait until TakeOver New York to put it on a bigger stage. But again, kind of have to wait and see here. I already mentioned the Ronda Rousey and Ruby Riott rematch on Monday Night Raw. They, put on a great match between these two. I don't understand why they couldn't have given them that time the night before in the Elimination Chamber pay-per-view. But, it is what it is. And on the SmackDown side, we saw Mandy Rose defeat Asuka in a non-title match, which was a bit of a surprise, bit of an upset. I know a lot of people online were not happy about that. But again, it is what it is. It's building a story. It's building towards WrestleMania. And this was the point where Lacey Evans came out on SmackDown and kind of caused a distraction. And that's what allowed Mandy to pick up the victory. Typical classic old school heel tactics. So I mean, you're building the rivalry between the babyface and the heel, and so I would assume based on this that Mandy will be probably facing Asuka at Fastlane and probably build all the way to WrestleMania. I would assume with these two. On the NXT side, we've got a new North American champion in the Velveteen Dream, defeated Johnny Gargano. Now, I mentioned about this because this obviously was taped a couple of weeks ago, And that when this match was taped, it was really unclear who the champion was after this, because Dream won the match, but then Gargano came back out and they kind of redid the ending, and Gargano left with the title. And I would assume, obviously, now at this point, now that the show has aired and Dream is the new champion, that was just kind of to throw the live crowd off and create confusion, so that you couldn't get a true spoiler out of it, basically. Of course, with the show not airing for a few weeks after the taping, Gargano still had to continue to carry the North American title on Raw and SmackDown for those first couple of appearances. So now, but now the Velveteen Dream is the new North American champion, so that is his first title in NXT. I'm certain it won't be his last. And also in NXT, they have announced the Dusty Rhodes Tag Team Classic will be taking place again this year. The 8 teams participating in that are Mustache Mountain, the Street Profits, Oney Lorcan and Danny Burch, the Forgotten Sons, DIY, Undisputed Era, Aleister Black and Ricochet, and Fabian Eichner and Marcel Bartel. And the winners of the tournament will get a tag team title match against the War Raiders at TakeOver New York. Now, most of the tournament has already been taped, and it's already down to the finals. I'm not going to give out any spoilers here, because I want to be able to watch it and follow along without knowing who's going to win. So if I had to pick just an early prediction for me, I would love to see Mustache Mountain win that and get shot at the tag team titles. I think Mustache Mountain and the War Raiders would be a great great tag team match, but same could be said for pretty much any of these guys. I'm a big fan of the Forgotten Sons, of course, DIY, Undisputed Era. Any of these teams, I think, would put on a great match against the War Raiders. It was also announced earlier this week that Chris Hemsworth will be playing Hulk Hogan in a Netflix movie about Hulk Hogan's life, so that should be interesting. Now, from what I read, the movie is basically going to cover the rise of Hulkamania, so it's not gonna, I would assume it's not going to get into like the latter part of his career, like with the NWO, and obviously not going to cover any of the Gawker trial or any of those that craziness that went on when he went back to WWE that last time. So I'll be definitely looking forward to that one. It should be an interesting movie, to say the least. And last big announcement for this week is that Roman Reigns will be returning to Raw this Monday to basically give an update on his leukemia treatment. Now, of course, this has led to tons of speculation. Is he returning to the ring? Is he retiring? There's been some pictures to come out on social media of him, working out with a personal trainer, and that personal trainer has made some comments, that he's helping Roman get back in ring shape and helping him train for his return to the ring. So, a lot of people are thinking, okay, Roman's announcing his return, he's going to be at WrestleMania, and I think a lot of people are jumping the gun. It could just be, people have also said, well, Vince is just doing it as a stunt to just pop a quick rating, which could be the case as well. I mean, you want to pull out all the stops to get as many eyes on your product as you can, but it's one of those things you got to wait and see what it's going to be, because they haven't said really the reason for his appearance, other than to give an update on his condition and his treatment. So, I'll be looking forward to it, to seeing what he has to say. Like I said, he could be returning to the ring, could be retiring, could just simply be coming out to say, my treatment's going well, and but I'm not ready to come back yet, because by all accounts, leukemia treatment can take up to 2 years. So, I guess depending on what stage he's at with it. So, just kind of have to sit back and watch and see what happens. But yeah, that's really all I've got for this week. I know it was a pretty short show here, just kind of going over the news. Don't really have a specific topic that I was going to cover this week. I will say this: I was supposed to have an interview this week, but which I stress tried to record yesterday, and the guest I had lined up was he was great. It was a great interview. Had a good chat with him, talking about all different aspects of wrestling and all kinds of stuff. And unfortunately, the software that I used to record the phone call only recorded one side of the conversation, so I was not able to get that posted. But I will be. I have contacted my guest, and he has graciously agreed to re-record the interview. So I'm gonna work out the bugs in my on my end, get that all fixed, and hopefully get that re-recorded and posted for a show here with within the next couple of weeks. I'm hoping to do that. So yeah, that's like I said, that's pretty much all I've got for this week. Thanks to everybody for listening. Hope you're all listening and subscribing on Podbean, Spotify, iTunes, Google Play, and the video stream. You can always find that on YouTube and Twitch. Search Catch, Hook, and Shoot. You'll be able to find it, and make sure you're following on social media, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and Snapchat. Search Catch, Hook, Shoot, and you should find any of those pages there. And as always, my email address is catchhookshoot@gmail.com. If you have any questions, comments, things you'd like to see or hear on the show, or anything that's on your mind, I'm open to pretty much anything, as I always say. So, yeah, with that, I will sign off for today. Hope everybody has a great week, and I will talk to you guys soon.